Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Military Mondays. For those who do not know who I am retired Major Brenda Sanchez, and I am also the co-founder of Life's Real Currency with my husband, Michael Sanchez. And there we go. That's what I wanted to do, side by side with Chennan. So I bring you these Military Mondays every single Monday morning at 8 a.m. Mountain Time, like clockwork, as long as technology cooperates with us, because we have had some technology glitches recently. But I like to educate you on military service or what it's like as a spouse or a child of a veteran growing up in the military. And I like to expose you to veteran owned or veteran type businesses that support the veteran community. And so if you are a veteran business owner, or you're the spouse or the child of a veteran and you own your own business, I would love to have a conversation with you. Please private message me and let's see if you would be a good fit for my Military Mondays. But enough of that, because I have a rock star that is on today. Chennan and I met through VetNet, which is a veterans networking group, probably about 6 months to a year ago, something like that, somewhere in there. And I was really impressed with her and her background and what she brings to the plate for the entire community, but especially for veterans and their families. So welcome today, Chennan. I appreciate you being on, and I look forward to sharing you with my audience.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
Awesome. So Chennan is the co-founder of Empowered Informed Health. And her grandfather served and her brothers served. So tell us a little bit about your family's service. And she actually served in air quotes because she served alongside the military. So talk about that and share that with my viewers.
Sure. Wonderful. Great question to ask. Yes, my grandfather served in the military. He was actually a co-pilot, or he was a pilot actually, of fighter jets and fighter planes. And we always had really fun stories of him growing up, and he told us many. One of them that you just have to picture, because I come from apparently a tall family. I'm the short one in the family. I'm 5'8", but everyone else is taller than me, including my younger sister. And my grandfather, I guess we get his genes, his tall genes from him, but he was 6'6". And can you just imagine, like, these old, I mean, we're talking World War II time frame. Can you just imagine, like, they were built differently than what they are now? And when I served with aviation, there were strict guidelines for how tall you could be, how wide you could be, what your wingspan was, what your the ergonomics of how you get into a pilot seat now, and before you get into a plane if you're going to fly it. And then they didn't build anything at that time to accommodate my grandfather, who was 6'6", and just kind of squished down, hunkered down in the pilot seat, and had to do his job basically. And he survived to tell those stories and different things. And I remember in Denver, there's the Wings Over the Rockies Museum, which my father was a big fan of. And we would go and we would see the planes, and they would be hanging down from the hangars. If you ever have a chance to take your kids there, do it, because it's definitely worth it. I hope it's still open. And there's all these really fun planes, World War II planes, Army planes, different things, including an X-Wing from Star Wars. So the kids have to go and see it. But you take a look at these planes, and all of them from World War II, and they're all really small cockpits. And so it's just amazing to me to think that, yeah, he did that. Yeah, he did.
And your brothers are currently serving, right?
Yes, my younger brother wants to join the Air Guard, so he's currently going that route. My older brother is an Air Force vet. He's also an entrepreneur, and he's going to school for that. And I'm hoping that when he finishes and when he's ready, he might be able to tag along and maybe even join VetNet, so he can come and see what other people are doing when he's ready. So he's going to take the world by storm. I know he is.
Awesome. And so tell us a little bit about your background, because you were a nurse and you served the VA, right? So tell us a little bit about your background and why you moved away from traditional, we'll call it traditional in air quotes, medicine to holistic and helping people make decisions on their health.
Great. Yes. So I was going to school in the height of the recession time period, 2008, 2009, trying to decide what I was going to do. A better idea for me to go outside of the state because a lot of nurses were coming in, and nursing was a really great thing at the time. They offered jobs. I loved nursing care, and I loved healthcare. And I knew that this was going to be my passion. So I was one of the lucky ones that I kind of knew kind of early on what I wanted to do with my life. And that was definitely help others and do healthcare. I went to the University of Wyoming, and they had a program there where we could go to the VA and have our clinical time there. So I spent time there as a student nurse, and they were blessed and hired me as a graduate nurse and as an RN BSN. And so I got to work there and see and actually work with veterans. And I loved my time there. It's one of the VA in Cheyenne, actually Cheyenne, Wyoming, is the #1 VA center in the country for patient care and patient satisfaction. And they have a really great record of doing that for like 10 plus years, and maybe even more since I've left. So they really do care about their citizens and about the people coming in, the veterans coming in. And so I was wonderful to be in that environment. And then it was also really neat because working with male veterans, male nurses, we call them nurses. It was great. It was great to be on the floor, on a med surg floor, and have pretty much 50% male, 50% female working with veterans. And the environment was great to do that. Unfortunately, it was more of like a system problem that was going on. You kind of have this revolving door, a lot of, repeat customers, the funny thing that nurses would say sometimes is like, oh, they're a frequent flyer. That's something that a lot of healthcare providers say a lot. And it just seemed to me, like things were like the needle wasn't really moving. We're not really solving healthcare issues in a global kind of way up here, kind of talking about it time frame. So an opportunity arose where after about 2.5, 3-ish years of working there, my husband actually moved back down to Colorado Springs where he could work. And he was like, come on, let's go. And I kind of dragged my feet for 6 months. I'm not going to lie, because I really did like Cheyenne. I had a great community there. Everyone knew everyone. And it was just kind of a wonderful environment for me. And then I came to 6 months later, after my husband said, let's go. I said, okay, I'm coming. And I was blessed with another job at Fort Carson working with active duty Army soldiers, which was really neat too. When I got there, I didn't exactly know what I was going to be and what I was going to do. And I arrived and I found out that I was one nurse for 4,100 soldiers, so 4,100.
Wow.
That had lots of challenges. I had 14 providers, a lot of, coming and going, deploying, rearranging, a lot of personnel. And that was, like I said, challenging, but fun, great opportunity to learn, great opportunity to get to know soldiers. They taught me, and that's something that I think I learned. I think the veterans taught me more about nursing than nursing school did. I think the active duty medics that I worked with taught me more about how to be respectful, how to treat someone with dignity, how to do these things, and be in this environment and show people a lot of love, because there's a soldier mindset, right, with working with veterans and do as you told, but there's also this humanistic quality that comes in that says, no, we still are humans and we still stand for something, and we need to move forward in this direction together. And so I really, really liked and enjoyed my time there, as much as it was stressful. But I did get burnt out after a while, not having as much support as I thought I needed. So I went to go work for another clinic that had more support, but that support had more nurses, but then 8,000 patients. So that's kind of right. That's been my exposure, is these really high volume patients and low staff, or staff that is, staff the way it is, I mean, there's always nursing shortages everywhere you go. It doesn't matter if it's military or not. So that's something that probably we need to look at, and looking at what is effective versus what is productive. So that's the, long story short, I kept going and looking to see if the grass is greener somewhere else. And where I landed was, there's some things that we're doing in healthcare, and we're focused more on productivity rather than effective healthcare. And we really need to move into this more effective healthcare means. So what I mean by that as a nurse, and if there's other nurses or healthcare professionals listening to this, you'll agree, like you'll be like, oh, I know exactly what you mean. I'd come into work, I'd have anywhere from 25 to 35 telephone consults, TCONs we call them. I have to answer all of those, help providers, help other nurses. We'd have walk-ins, right, where people would come in and they'd need, migraine cocktails to help them, et cetera, whatever it may be, tests, lab tests, all sorts of things. And you would work your butt off from as soon as you got in the door to the minute you left, only to come back and do it again the next day, from morning to night. And so a lot of nurses get burnt out. And again, that's not the military, that's for profit, nonprofit, that's everywhere. So we're productive, we like to be productive, but we're not really effective. So that's what led me out of traditional medicine and into more of a holistic with a W view.
Yeah, my daughter is a nurse at Fort Carson. So on the civilian side, she's not wearing a uniform, but she serves alongside, and I hear of her long days and on call and everything, and how busy they are, and sometimes don't even really have time for lunch or a dinner break, if it's a later, she serves during the day, so usually it's a lunch break. But yeah, I mean, and I hear her friends that, she talks about how they are so air quotes, overworked, that there just aren't enough. There is a nursing shortage, and we've had a nursing shortage for a very long time too. So tell us a little bit about holistic with a W health, and what it is you're doing now and how you can help veterans or even military families right now to make good decisions on their health care. You kind of come alongside them, right? And kind of are, for lack of a better word, a consultant. Is that the way you would say it?
Absolutely, yes. I consider myself a nurse by trade, but a health educator, and I specialize in education and consulting. So how it works is pretty cool. In the traditional sense, when you go to your doctor, usually they'd run some lab tests and maybe ahead of time of your appointment to kind of expedite your appointment a little bit. And then you go in and you have a conversation with your doctor. In the military, appointments are 20 minutes. Maybe 30 minutes, depending. Others, specialty doctors, it's maybe an hour if you're lucky, like an oncologist. But it's kind of like when we get to the point where we're talking to an oncologist, oh, that's
you need an hour.
But you need an hour, and B, it's like, okay, there's something really going on here. We really need to have really good time management skills, and that's one thing I got from the military is good time management skills. Is we have to start having those conversations. So sometimes what happens is you go in, you get your labs, and they say, oh, you have maybe a little bit of high blood pressure starting, maybe a little bit of high cholesterol starting, and then you have choices, right, of what you can do. And doctors most often they have a two-step system where you have an issue and they offer you some sort of solution. Usually it's a symptom management approach, not a approach using, okay, what is your lifestyle like? What is going on? What kind of diet are you on? There's usually not a way to do that. So I fill in that hole. So when your doctor tells you, okay, go try, if you want to do diet and lifestyle, go ahead, go do diet and lifestyle, and meet me back in 6 months, and we'll reconvene, do the labs, and we'll do that, right? So I fill in that hole where people can come to me and say, all right, my doctor is telling me I'm having a little bit of an issue. I would like some information on this. And how do I get rid of my hypertension so it doesn't lead to heart failure? How do I get rid of my hypercholesterol so it doesn't lead to heart attacks, et cetera, et cetera? And I think nurses are going to be really pivotal in doing this, because we already have the training in a way where we start thinking, we get the training across the lifespan, first of all, which is wonderful. So we do everything from pregnant mommies all the way up to elderly care. Some nurses choose to specialize in, say, just pediatrics or just wound care or what have you, and that's fine. But I think the human body works as a whole. We should start thinking about working in a holistic fashion, or a whole health fashion is what I call it. So yes, there's diet and lifestyle that we do, and we help people understand that. But the piece that I see that a lot of people aren't addressing are the effective care, or the care that the doctors are giving them. So who's looking at those labs? Are those labs helpful? Are they effective? Or are we just ordering labs because we can do that as healthcare professionals, as doctors? Is it really moving the needle, or are we creating more problems, is kind of what I like to look at. So we help the patient understand that process of the lab work, what is good, what is bad, and then they can decide for themselves, do they really need these labs or not? And they become empowered and informed that way. And then when the doctor says diet and lifestyle, instead of leaving the patient out into the world of the internet and the world of misinformation with their friends and their, coworkers and families who all mean well, they're all well intended, right? Go do this diet, keto or hormono diet or whatever it is. I don't know. Sorry, I haven't been on a fad diet in like 10 years, so I don't know. I don't know all the diets out there right now, but I just know when people come back and they tell me, they're like, I'm on this. And I'm like, what is that? To go figure it out. So we help people understand that. We break down the misinformation. We show them, and we come alongside them. And actually, I just had that yesterday. Come alongside them and said, okay, let's do this together. So no one's being left alone. No one's being abandoned. And I'm going to spend a lot of time with you going through the information one-on-one. Sometimes we have other resources, like we have a whole health briefs library that people can log into, and it saves me a little bit of time if you can go and read articles that are well referenced. Sometimes we sit down, and I just got a text from someone yesterday saying, hey, is this true? And it's like, well, let's sit down and let's look at it. And so I didn't spend a whole lot of time. I mean, in about 30 minutes, we could debunk this whole thing, and it wasn't very credible. And I showed them how to do that, and they said, oh, great, thanks, wonderful. Okay, and then they're out, so I like filling those holes for people as a whole health provider, working with them on their labs, understanding their labs, their medications, understanding their diet and lifestyle, understanding their options that they have for alternative health. So I don't like to be labeled as traditional medicine, functional medicine, integrative health. All of those modalities have good and not so good things. What I do is stick to the evidence, have it be based on outcomes in the long term, and you can start to see when people start making better choices with their healthcare, they often need less interventions, because healthy people need less interventions, and you start to whittle away at the high cost of healthcare.
So I know from a couple of conversations with you, you might go into the doctor, and through my history or my family's history, you go into the doctor and the doctor might say, like I remember years and years ago when my mom had her first heart attack, she passed now 2012. So 8 years ago. But they said you have three options. You can do X, Y, and Z. And my mom's like, oh, we're doing this, but you help people navigate that, right? And look at A, B, and C, or X, Y, and Z, and help them make the best choice for them without making a rash decision, right?
Right. So great question, right? When you go to the doctor, they give you A, B, and C, where I have like A through Z options, right? And maybe A, B, and C that your doctor offers you isn't that great, because doctors are often kind of, they're kind of pigeonholed, where their training doesn't really allow for them to see. And that's a whole, there's just been a lot of breakdown in censorship and doctors communicating with one another. And that's a whole debacle. So I'm not going to get into that. But the example that I give of how to best illustrate maybe why you would want to work with me for someone who knows A through Z versus A, B, and C is, it's a little bit of an extreme example, but I think it gets the point across, is patients with glioblastoma. Glioblastoma is rare, but it is very severe, and it's very, very scary. When you get brain cancer, that's scary. That's what a glioblastoma is. You don't have a lot of time to explore 20 million different options. You really need to get down to it quickly. But these doctors are held to standard of care. The standard of care for a glioblastoma patient, I believe, is radiation, chemotherapy, surgery, and medications. So those are what the A, B, C, and D options are for glioblastoma patients. But when we look at the research and the evidence and what the outcomes of that is, the chances of a cancer patient, a brain tumor glioblastoma patient surviving in 5 years is 0%. So maybe we do need to look at E, F, G, H, I options, because what do you have to lose at that point? If you got a glioblastoma, you got maybe 6 months, 2 years to live, and definitely in 5 years, your chances of living is 0% using standard of care. Maybe we need to expand our thinking a little bit.
Yeah, and look at diet, look at lifestyle, look at some of the other things, look at nutrients that maybe you're missing that is causing some of your health problems. And that could be a whole nother show in itself.
Right. Look at what is effective. And I don't have I don't have those labels of being labeled functional or being labeled this, that, and the other. I don't care. I just want to do what is working for others. And ultimately, I want you as the patient or the client to decide what you want for yourself. And whatever you decide is great. If you have a glioblastoma and you want to do A, B, and C, okay, great. I'm going to support you either way. If you want to do X, Y, and Z, I'm going to support you there too.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for being on today. Is there one last thing you'd like to share with my audience before we wrap it up?
Sure. The one thing I'd like to share is, if this has made some sort of impact and I have touched you in some way, whether it be your head or your heart, then I think it's time to stop talking and start doing. So give me a call, get on my website, find my email. Let's have a conversation that could save your life today.
Awesome. And you'll put all of that in the comments below so that people can reach out and find you. The easiest way, obviously, is you're watching us on Facebook right now. The other thing is, if you've found value in this, if she's touched your heart, or you in some way, would you please share this so that we can get the information out to more people? So like and share it on your page. We would love that. And if you have your own business and you are a veteran, or you're currently serving and you have a job or an entrepreneur venture alongside your military career, I'd love to have a conversation with you and see if you might be a good fit to share with my audience on Military Mondays. So with that, I appreciate all of you, and I look forward to seeing you next Monday on Military Mondays. Bye, everyone.
Bye.